Hey yo, what is poppin'? What is happening? It's your boy Fizz, bringing you guys the NCL Round 1 Playoffs Team Builder portion of the video, going up against the Pittsburgh Piplups, coached by Mountain Dewpider, also known as Hayden. Now, we are in playoffs now, Round 1, baby. We had a pretty strong regular season record, finishing off at around 9-3, if I remember correctly. And Hayden's also doing pretty well, or he also did pretty well in the regular season. He went 8-4. So definitely a pretty solid opponent here. No jokes. No jokes. He's a very solid opponent and definitely formidable in the format. But here's a part of a draft league season where whatever you did during the regular season does not matter. Doesn't matter if you were like 1,000-0. It doesn't matter if you were 4-4 and somehow made playoffs. It doesn't matter what your regular season record was. If you lose a game in playoffs, it's over. It doesn't matter what your regular season record was. So definitely going to be taking these games very, very seriously because it's all or nothing, man. And I came here to win the championship. As I said in the very beginning, the draft analysis, I said I would take the ship home for your Tampa Bay Weasels, and that's exactly what I plan to do here. And it all starts with the Round 1 playoffs game. And yeah, this is going to be a longer team builder, longer battle, longer video, whatever you want to call it, just because I'm going to be really in-depth in his team, in-depth with my team, go over my thoughts, my game plan, stuff like that. I think it's going to be very valuable insight for everybody to kind of get around my head, if you know what I mean, because my head is a very dark place, not a dark place, it's a very terrifying place, and a lot of things can come from there. So I'm going to do the best I can to explain why I brought the things I brought and stuff like that. So yeah, man, really excited to be here, and hopefully I don't let you down. I'm actually recording this before I actually battle him, so I have no idea what's gonna happen. Hopefully I win. But yeah, first off, I'm gonna go over his team really quickly, or not really quickly, really in detail. Mega Beedrill, Latios, Rodent Wash, Crocodile, Porygon 2, Ditto, Girder, Blacephalon, Florges, Metagross, and Zebstrika. Now, a pretty decent team, honestly. He's played well with this team. He used all these mons pretty well so far. But the first thing I noticed about his draft is his hazard situation. Crocodile and Metagross are his only two hazard situation. Hazard young mans in his team, other than Mega Beedrill, that doesn't get rocks. So Crocodile is kind of forced to get rocks, to bring rocks rather. Similar to my NCL Season 2 run last year. Crocodile was my only real rocker. My other two rockers were Mesprit and Kecleon. That just sucked. Those two Pokemon are not very good rockers and not the best Pokemon in general. And I really needed my other Pokemon that were just way better than Mesprit or Kecleon. Same thing here. Metagross, I think, has a pretty trash matchup. Can't really break my Slowking. It has trouble doing damage to the Torkoal. Gets obliterated offensively by my Suncore, by Chomp, by Gengar, stuff like that. So I think it has a pretty horrendous matchup, but I can definitely see it coming. But I'm going to go over his team individually, every single member of his team. I'm going to discuss the role it has in this matchup. Mega Beedrill, I definitely think it comes. The first 5 Pokemon on his side, the Beedrill, Lati, Rotom, Crook, and the P2. I think they're all going to come, all 5 of them. He's been using those the most this season in the regular season. He's brought those 5 mons the most throughout his games. So Mega Beedrill I definitely do expect. It pressures my Clefable very well, which his other Pokemon do not do, except for Metagross. But again, I mentioned the pretty unfortunate matchup that it has. Mega Beedrill can SD. I don't really actually see it running SD, so scratch that completely. Dual Stab, U-Turn, P-Jab, Drill Run, and maybe like Toxic Spikes, maybe Knock, Aerial Ace. I think it's going to be definitely the Dual Stab, Drill Run, or either Aerial Ace or Toxic Spikes. Toxic Spikes definitely have merit in this matchup. I can see why he would want to do that, in case I'm running like an Underwater Clefable, and they really do help out against my Torkoal, which is my only hazard removal situation that I'm bringing here. Obviously, I'm not bringing Aerodactyl, as you can see, so it has its niche here. It has its uses, so I definitely expect that. Aerial Ace over Toxic Spikes for the Buzzwole, because Scarf Crocodile kind of obliterates my team. My only ground resist is the Beedrill, or my only ground resist is the Buzzwole rather, and the Aerodactyl, and obviously I'm not bringing Aerodactyl, so I need to keep Buzzwole healthy. for the Mega Beedrill, and he can really offensively pressure the Buzzwole enough to the point where after an Aerial Ace, it is put in range of a Crocodile, like an Adamant Scarf Crocodile, something like that. So I really need to be wary about that. But Beedrill is also just a fast pivot and outspeeds everything on my team, and can run Adamant here. So I definitely expect it to come. He has no reason not to bring it, honestly. Latios is very interesting here. It's a very scary Pokemon, man. It's very scary. But I can see it run like 4 attacks to Life Orb, 3 attacks, Roost Life Orb. It can run Calm Mind, DD. I really don't expect DD, quite honestly. But it can come, I suppose. But I feel like either Calm Mind or just 4 attacks, Life Orb, Specs, Choice Locked variants are also pretty scary against my team. That can run Trick for my Clefable and really cripple that thing to the point where it can't really do anything valuable for my team. So I'm forced to like sack it, play around it in a weird way. So I really need to be careful about Latios, and I really need to figure out early game what kind of set it is, because it's a very scary Pokemon. I don't know exactly what set he can bring, but hopefully it's not scary. But yeah, it definitely has a use here. I don't think he's gonna have room for Defog, like I said before. Just gonna be one of those offensive variants that can be definitely scary. Rotom Wash is his hazard removal situation, so he can get rid of my rocks that pressure his Beedrill and stuff like that. His P2 that just offensively pressured most of his team. So getting rid of rocks for him is a very good priority. Status Rotom is actually very scary against me. Something like Toxic, all 3 of the status options, Toxic, Willow, and T-Wave, that are all very annoying for my team. So he can spread status around with Rotom, Volt Switch around, Hydro Pump things, just burn everything. It's just an annoying Pokemon. It can be a very solid Garchomp check as well, and can kind of be a switch-in for my Mega Houndoom. It does get Solar Beam, but you can see that I'm not going to be bringing Solar Beam. So it can definitely be a decent Sun check. Well, I guess not a decent Sun check. It's his water, and he's going to bring it because I have a Houndoom. So he doesn't just straight up lose to my Mega Houndoom. But yeah, it can pivot around Defog, Status Rotom is very annoying, so I really need to be careful around that. Crocodile, like I mentioned before, he's probably going to bring rocks on it, but Scarf Crocodile also has a very good matchup against my Draft innately. I don't have very good ground resist, other than my Buzzwole and my Aerodactyl that's obviously immune to it. So it can definitely be scary. Pursuit Trap my Gengar, stuff like that. And Scarf Earthquake with Moxie is just not looking like a fun time. But I have a Buzzwole that pretty much hard walls it unless it's like Bulk Up, Z, Aerial Ace, something ridiculous like that, Z Fire Blast, I don't know. Something like that, but it can definitely be a set that's possible here. I don't really see him bringing like a Z Fire set, a Z Fire Blast set from Crocodile, but it can definitely come. I really don't know what that Crocodile can bring, but I feel like Scarf Crocodile is just an easy bring for him. In Mox, I did see that it had Adamant Crocodile that was Scarfed. So, yeah, I have a Buzzwole that can take care of that, and it's also very scary. It probably has rocks on it. Dual Stab could have room for Aerial Ace, but I really don't see it coming. On a Scarf set, he can just sit in the back late game, pressure my Buzzwole with the Beedrill and Latios, Rotom, stuff like that, and then just in the back sweep me with Crocodile. So, keeping Buzzwole healthy will be a priority. Porygon 2, it's just fat. Very annoying for my team, can status everything as well with the T-Wave or Toxic. It's just very annoying for my team to handle. Can switch in on something like the Chomp as well. That's very annoying for me. And knocking off its Eviolite is going to be very important for my team, just to be able to break through his fat. This is his best defensive response to like a Chomp other than Rotom, because Rotom is probably going to be Spidef for the Houndoom because he doesn't have other Sun checks at all. So P2 is just very annoying, and Recovery, Bolt Beam, stuff like that, just very annoying. Girder, I don't know. Girder is really weird. It's not a very good Pokemon. It can Mach Punch my Houndoom and do like 50, 60, but other than that, it doesn't have a use at all. It dies to Fire Blast and Sun, so I don't know, man. It's just a really weird Pokemon, and I don't really see him bringing it over something like the rest of his mons. Like, I think it's like the second worst mon against my team after like Zipstrike. Zipstrike I don't see coming at all. But yeah, Girder, I really don't expect it at all. Cephalon is pretty scary, can take advantage of my Sun, can really pressure my Clefable, break it down for the Crocodile, can also pressure my Buzzwole for the Crocodile. So he can definitely bring plenty of options to help his Crocodile out with the late game sweep, of course. So that's definitely, let me close my door real quick. There we go. He has a lot of options to help his win con in Crocodile for sure. And sub Calm Mind sets are very scary as well. Can run specs, trick as well, trick the Fable. It doesn't really want to switch in on the Blacephalon anyway, but it can do that if it wants to. But it's just very scary offensively. Florges, it's a dragon. It's a dragon immunity, so I could see why he wants to bring it. It resists Buzzwole's dual stabs, helps pressure Buzzwole even more. Because getting rid of Buzzwole for him, I feel like is a very good priority. Just in general, I mentioned like 50 times why it's a good priority for him for the Crocodile in the back. But Florges can also defog, Wish Pass around his Rotom, his Beedrill, his Blacephalon, whatever he wants. It can be very annoying as well, but it doesn't have the greatest of matchups, and he could easily bring something like a Ditto over it. Yeah, but it has its uses here. Metagross doesn't have the best matchup here. If it does come, I imagine it just being for Stealth Rocks, and then just like exploding with it. Just sacking it, because it doesn't perform any defensive roles here. It doesn't perform any offensive roles here. It just doesn't look very good here. I really don't see what it does, except for just get up rocks and die. And getting up rocks with Metagross leads me to believe that he is in fact a Scarf Crocodile, which I mean I do expect anyway. It's not that big of like an accomplishment for predicting that incredible set, but you know what, Metagross gets a job done, just gets up rocks, can take a hit from something on my team from lead and just get up rocks, so definitely fair for him. Zebstrika has the coverage to do a lot of work on my team, but can't really do anything about it. It kind of just doesn't have the power to really break my team. Clefable's an easy switch in every time, but it is a decent pivot option, but it does the same thing as Mega Beedrill, in my opinion, except it's just a different typing and on the special side, and with coverage, obviously. So I don't really see what Zebstrika does other than like fast pivoting options. It just doesn't hit hard in this matchup, and I don't really see the offensive presence that it has other than just having coverage, because it doesn't have the stats to back it up at all. So the 6 I'm definitely expecting are the first 5, Beedrill, Lottie, Rotom, Crook, P2, and something like a mix of the Metagross can potentially come, Ditto, Blacephalon, Florges. Out of those 4, that's a wild card slot, but the first 5 I definitely expect. Those are his best Pokemon on his team, so I definitely expect him to bring those. But yeah, man, without further ado, I'm just going to get right into my team. Hopefully this team builder hasn't been too long already. First up, I have my Buzzwole that I have been talking about for the last 10 minutes. With the Cobra Berry, Roost, Bulk Up, and Dual Stab, Leech Life, and Drain Punch. Very Fizz Def here. Very Fizz Def EVs. What this thing does is allows me to have my team not lose to Scarf Crocodile. That's the words I'm trying to put together here. I just don't want to lose to Scarf Crocodile, and this Buzzwole says, hi, I don't lose to Scarf Crocodile, so there you go. Can also switch into Beedrill pretty well. Like an Adamant P-Jab does like 30. It does like completely nothing. And Beedrill, the best thing it can do is like Aerial Ace. But that's why I have a Cobra Berry. It does 2-shot with Aerial Ace. And I'm not really worried about the Aerial Ace Crocodile because I don't really think that's a good set here. So this Cobra Berry is pretty much only there for the Beedrill. Help me not get chipped by the Beedrill as much as before. So, because keeping this thing healthy is a priority for me. Always. I really need to keep this above like 50% at all times if possible. So that's just going to be very important for me. Bulk Up is a very, very clean win con in the end. It helps me break the P2 more, which is going to be very good for my Houndoom and my Victory Bow, for sure. And once Latios and Blacephalon is gone, I really don't see what stops Bulk Up Buzzwole, quite honestly. Florges could come. It's a maybe, so that's why I felt like Bulk Up was just a good set with Dual Stab. Hits pretty much everything on his team, and it's just a really good, reliable physical wall as well. So it's very versatile in this matchup with some speed creep, and it's just really good here. I love Buzzwole, man. I love me some Buzzwole, and hopefully it does put in some work here. But yeah, that's a Buzzwole. Does a lot. Next up, I have my Garchomp, Kamina with a Dragonium Z, Rough Skin, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, D-Claw, Dual Stab, and SD. What this EV spread does, lets me live a Scarf Dragon Pulse from Latios in case he wants to do that. It only took me 80 EVs to put in Speed Def, so I might as well take it out of attack because maybe 80 EVs don't really make a difference, so I might as well put that in there. This is probably going to be my lead if I see a Metagross, for sure, because I can pressure it out with an Earthquake, and I can go for rocks pretty much anytime. It's going to be my lead pretty much anytime, because if Rotom wants to status me or something, I can go into my Clefable Heal Bell let off, because rocks are going to be incredibly valuable against his team. But I feel like if he leads Rotom on the Garchomp, I need to switch out, because he can just defog them away on my switch into the Clefable. So it's just not really worth it getting up rocks turn 1 if he does lead with the Rotom. But getting up rocks, it's going to be very big. So I can get chip on the Beedrill, on the Latios. Everything is really pressured by rocks here. So I really want that. And also as a way to pressure the Rotom's defog, I can SD as well. And pop the Z Dragonium. This should actually be Outrage, not Dragon Claw. So going to change that really quickly. Z Outrage and not Dragon Claw. Just hits everything and just way harder than like Dragon Claw, and it can really nuke something. He can double into the switch into Florges, but I can play around that pretty easily, and pressures the Rotom defog with the Z Drake. So very good stuff here, and just a straightforward chomp set, very standard stuff, and it outspeeds the Rotom, I believe. The Crocodile, yeah, it's a Crocodile, so it outspeeds that, and it's also a really good Crocodile knockoff answer, because he can't really win with Scarf knockoff because I have a Dragonium Z, natural fat 108, 95, and rough skin, so it can't knock off my item, and it just really does nothing. It does like 20, not even 20 probably. But yeah, just a really good Pokemon here. Garchomp is phenomenal, and nothing really wants to take a Z Drake, seeing as the Steel is Metagross, and it has a horrendous matchup first of all, and it's weak to my Garchomp, so very good stuff. Next up I have my Clefable. A mixed defensive Clefable with lefties, Magic Guard, Wish Protect, Moonblast, and Heal Bell. I'm just going to say it right now, I've built like 5 of these teams. I could not decide on which sets to bring. I had Arrow at one point, I had Unaware Clefable at one point, I had Katie, Gengar, Young Gengar in at one point, but I had Victreebel right now. Just a lot of stuff changing, and this, I feel like, is a final team. This is the final team I'm going to be taking to playoffs. Just a lot of thinking, because I've been shit-talking a lot in the league chat, so it's just going to be very depressing if I lose round 1, you know? So hopefully I don't do that. I want to do my best, for sure, and hopefully pick home, or get home the W. But yeah, lefties, Magic Guard, Wish Protect, Moonblast, and Heal Bell is my Latios switch-in. Wish Protect is really good to Wish Pass into my Torkoal, so I can get more turns of Sun from my Mega Houndoom and Victreebel, Wind Cons in the back, or Breaker. It can be either or. And Heal Bell is for that Rotom status and P2 status, just annoying status everywhere on his team. It's just annoying, and Toxic Spikes, Poisons can be very annoying, so Heal Bell is really good for that. And Mixed Defense just lets me take on Latios the best, I feel like, here. So yeah, just a straightforward set. Clefable just doing its thing. I really wanted to run like a Calm Mind set, which does have its merit. Honestly, it really does have its merit. But it just gets revenge by Beedrill every single time. And I don't really have the best way to just prevent it from stop pivoting other than running Rocky Helmet on something. But that requires me bringing Steelix with a Rocky Helmet or something. And I can't really justify bringing Steelix over anything else. So yeah, I felt like Calm Mind Clefable was just not the bring here. I felt like this was the best set that it has. And can also take a couple hits from Crocodile at neutral. Obviously if it gets a +1, I can't do anything about that. I originally had Unaware, something like a Calm Mind Latios, Moxie Crook, Calm Mind Blacephalon, stuff like that. But I felt like Magic Guard was the best thing, so I don't have to take status from Porygon or Rotom and Rocks as I'm switching into Latios. So yeah, this is the best set here, I feel like, for sure. Next up I have the Victreebel. I haven't brought Victreebel to a lot of games, so this will definitely catch him off guard. And the entire playoffs, they need to be aware of Victreebel, man, because you always have to prep for Victreebel. Hopefully he doesn't prep for it at all and just lets me win with it. That'd be ideal, right? But I'm bringing physical, or rather mixed Victreebel here with Life Orb, Chlorophyll, obviously. Leaf Blade, P-Jab, Weather Ball, and Knockoff. Dual Stab kind of destroys his team. Like, it really does. The only thing that switches into a Leaf Blade is like Mega Beedrill, that doesn't switch into Victreebel at all. Latios, Blacephalon, which is not a switch in, Metagross, that I don't think has a good matchup at all. And so Mega Beedrill, Latios, and Blacephalon and Metagross, they all get bodied by a Weather Ball or a Knockoff. Poison Jab is just there for the full, just in case I really need to just kill that thing straight up. So yeah, this speed lets me outspeed a Scarf Blacephalon, which I think definitely has merit here. Once he gets the boost going, it can be very hard to stop, especially since I'm not running Underwear Clefable. I feel like running the speed creep for the Scarf Blacephalon and Sun is just going to be very good for me, and really necessary, quite honestly. So definitely important stuff there. You can also outspeed like a Flame Charge Blacephalon, does the same thing. So I felt like either of those two possibilities can be here. Like a Flame Charge Z Ghost set with Calm Mind maybe, or just a regular Z Ghost set. Just very scary, and this thing just rips apart his team. Knockoff is really good in case I can knock off a P2's item, because that is his best switch into Victory Bell. And I can just knock that Eviolite off to help out my Houndoom, my Garchomp, stuff like that. So that's just going to be really good, and knocking off lefties, knocking off Life Orb, stuff like that, and I can tell which Mons are Z-move, like a Latios maybe. Knockoff also hits that. So just really good stuff. And Weather Ball is just there to get guaranteed KOs on the Mega Beedrill. No world does it live a Weather Ball and Sun. So that's really good stuff here, and I didn't really need anything else. I was considering Strength Set, but I don't know. Crocodile, it would be only there for the Crocodile, and like, why not kill it with a Leaf Blade, you know? Why not just body it completely with the Leaf Blade? So that's my thought process into it. And just, Victory Bell looks really good here. First part of my Sun Core looks just really good here. No, just straightforward. Excuse me. Next up, I have my Mega Houndoom with Flash Fire, Pre-Mega, Pursuit, Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, and Nasty Plot. I originally had Flame Charge over Nasty Plot, but Nasty Plot allows me to just completely break down the Florges and the Porygon 2, because those are his best switch-ins. Rotom as well. I can Nasty Plot on the switch to Rotom, and in Sun, +2 Dark Pulse will just completely roast that thing. It doesn't take a hit very well at all. Pursuit is really, really nice here. It's going to be very good for my Buzzwole, trapping the Latios and the Blacephalon, because those are the two Pokemon that just pressure my Buzzwole and prevent it from winning with a Bulk Up sweep. So pursuing those two, getting it chipped, even if it doesn't kill the Latios, putting it in a range of something like Rocks plus Clefable, or like Victory Bell and Sun, stuff like that, or even Torkoal, like, I don't know, Lava Plume. I don't want to take a Draco with Torkoal, but just puts it in a range of a lot. And yeah, just a really good set here. And with Dragon Dance Latios, I really don't see it being set up fodder for anything on my team. So yeah, I don't really think Dragon Dance Latios is the best set here. Well, at least against my team that I'm bringing, it doesn't have the best matchup. It doesn't really set up on anything. But yeah, just Dual Stab rips apart his team completely. And just really good stuff. Mega Houndoom has been very good for my season, my regular season in prep. But unfortunately, it has not really worked out super well. I really wanted to do more work. I've had a lot of fun with it, quite honestly. It hasn't performed super well, just because I didn't really use it well. But you know what? Hopefully it can pick it up in the playoff season right now. But yeah, Pursuit, trapping Latios and Blacephalon is just phenomenal for my Buzzwole. And that's just going to be the game plan going into this. And last but not least, the most important part of our team is my Heat Rock Torkoal with Drought, Toxic, Lava Plume, Rapid Spin, and Earth Power. Just a really Fizz Def, or not really Fizz Def, just max HP, a bunch of Fizz Def, or not a bunch, just 16 EVs. Can take a couple hits from Beedrill unless it's a Drill Run or something. And I can wish this back up. It really helps out my Victory Bell and my Mega Houndoom to either like win or just break his team apart for my Buzzwole to just win the game. So he can't really check my offense very well. His Rotom is very pressured, his Porygon's immensely pressured. Metagross, Florges, all of his defensive Pokemon are just immensely pressured in this matchup. And Toxic is really good because he doesn't have the best switch into Torkoal either. Like, Latios can be a switch in, but I can Toxic the Latios coming in, get that thing chipped, put it in range of a Pursuit. Can Toxic the Rotom, put it in range of like a Z-Drake from Garchomp completely. Can whittle down the P2 because his Cleric is Florges, and that doesn't have the best of matchups in this, I feel like. But it can definitely come over something like a Metagross. But that means his Crocodile has to give up a move slot for Rocks. And then that's just really good information for me. I can get a lot of information from him just at team preview, like immediately. So that's just really good for me. And Spin is for getting rid of Toxic Spikes, Rocks, stuff like that. Stuff that can be annoying for my team. And I originally had Gyro Ball on it so I don't become setup fodder for Calm Mind Latios. But you know what? Like, if I toxic that thing on entry, and I can always pursue trap it later, and sub Calm Mind Roost is the set that I'm most worried about. It can 1v1 the Torkoal, but he doesn't have one move that just roasts my team. Like Dragon Pulse obviously gets bodied by Clefable, Psychic gets bodied by my Houndoom. Surf, like, I don't know. Hard for him to pick one move out of that. So I felt like Toxic was just the best thing for me. But I'm not really going to stand on the Torkoal, or on the Latios with my Torkoal. That's more of a Clefable job, you know. So hopefully Clefable can get a lot of uses out of it before it gets tricked by Latios, potentially. But Torkoal, just really good support for my team. And yeah, I feel really good going into this battle. The game plan pretty much is getting up rocks with Garchomp, see what his lead is, look at team preview. I can get so much information from team preview. I think it's just going to be really good information. See if he brings Metagross, what his Crocodile set will be. If he brings the Ditto, if he brings Girder, P2, just his team comp in general is going to be very interesting to me. Very interested to see what he brings in that final slot. The first 5, like I said before, I definitely expect. So the 6th slot is kind of open, and that just gives me information. Whether it's Blacephalon or something. I don't know. But his defense, again, is just really overwhelmed and pressured by my offense. That just, like, completely rips apart his team. He has no Sun Checks, so that's just a fun time, you know? And, yeah, I really enjoy my team. Buzzwole is going to be big. My 2 Sun Sweepers are just going to be really big. Guns out, buns out. So, yeah, you know what? I'm really happy with my team. Hopefully this 6th installment of my team pretty much is the one that will lead us to the semifinals and hopefully pick up our ship. So this is the first piece of the Puzzle Boys, and I will see you in the battle. Alrighty guys, we are back with the battle here, going up against Hayden. Now looking at the 6 he's bringing, pretty surprised that no Rotom Wash, and he does bring the Metagross, which is like a really interesting pick in my opinion. So that tells me that this Metagross pretty much is always going to have rocks, I would imagine, because that leaves him open, or that gives him room to run Scarf Crook against my team, and he doesn't have to bring rocks on the Scarf Crocodile, but I do expect the rocks to come just because of my Sun Core is very threatening. If he can get that little down putting range of like a Bullet Punch or a Beedrill or something, I feel like that's just in his best interest here. But I also see that he has no removal, since he didn't bring the Rotom. So I am just going to lead off with my Garchomp here, try to get a Brox early. Now he leads off with a Beedrill, and here's a play that I kind of regret. Immediately after I made it, I actually want to bust my Z move here. I'm sorry about that. I actually want to bust my Z move here because his Dragon Resist is a Metagross, and that's not taking anything. That's not taking a Z Outrage into Earthquake ever. So I just went for the Z turn 1 instead of going for Rocks, but the best play was definitely to go for Rocks here. But he does switch into the P2, which I expected to be especially defensive, but that does literally nothing, so I just wasted my Z move for nothing. Onto the P2, which was pretty awful, as he does go into his Beedrill, and I just switch pass into my Garchomp here to see what he wants to go for as he goes for the knockoff here, but that's fine by me. It does very little since I did bust my Z move, so I don't have any item on it. So here I just go for Rocks on the Beedrill because it's going to take Rough Skin plus Rocks coming in, and getting rid of that threat that is Beedrill is going to be very good for me. And as he goes for a Psychic on the P2, which is definitely very interesting, and he goes for a Toxic here, it's anticipating me to run Unaware, I suppose, which I almost did, but Magic Guard let me 1v1 this P2 pretty easily. And I just go for the Wish here because Metagross is his best switch. He tries to pull out a double into his Ditto, which I didn't really expect what he was trying to catch off the transform, maybe like, I don't know, a Garchomp maybe, because my Dragon Resist is Fable, so I don't really know why transforming to Garchomp was the play for him, but he does go into his Ditto here, and right here I can check this in completely as this Lava Plume destroys him easily, and he reveals to not be Scarfed at all, so I just go for a Toxic here, thinking he was Scarfed or something, and that he was going to switch out. But right here I just go for the Lava Plume. I don't care if my Torkoal gets chipped because I do have Wish Pass on it later on, as he decides to go for the Moonblast again, and I just killed his Ditto, which is pretty nice. I didn't really think Ditto had a good matchup here, so I guess it made sense for him to sack it as he goes into his Crocodile. But I do end up going into my Clefable on the knockoff because I didn't want my Buzzwole getting its Berry knocked off, so that's fine by me. As I go for the Wish here, and as he goes into Beedrill, and this is fine by me because I can live every hit from Beedrill, even a Drill Run if he wants to predict that. And if he goes for something else, like a U-turn, he has to take a Rock Chip back in, and it forces in Crocodile. That is definitely Scarf at this point, I believe. Or I at least anticipated Scarf on it. And, so, yeah, taking more Rock Chip with the Crocodile lets me put it in range of a Garchomp hit, so I can't be one-hit KO'd by the Crocodile, so getting more Rock Chip on that is definitely really good for my Garchomp. And I anticipate the double, or the switch into Blacephalon, so I double into my Mega Houndoom, try to remove this thing from the game. And as I go for a Pursuit here, as he goes for a sub, not really sure why he made the sub play, but Pursuiting was fine by me. I don't care about it because he can't one-shot me in any way, shape, or form, so I just pursued it, get rid of that gigantic threat on his team. And right now, he has a little trouble breaking my defensive core. As I go into my Buzzle here, but I can just easily go into my Clefable, which he does get a Spadef drop, but that's fine by me. Doesn't really matter because I can just Wish and Protect all over this thing as he goes for another Toxic, trying to catch something on the switch. And I just hard switch into Torkoal because I didn't want him to go into Beedrill for free as he goes for Toxic here, which is fine because I can definitely heal Bell this off later, and health on this thing is not necessarily the biggest thing in the world, as I do get the Toxic off on this P2, which pretty much ensures me that I kind of am in the best position I am to win the game with my Mega Houndoom or anything at this point, because now that I can whittle down this P2, a lot of things in my team offensively can just like break his team completely. So that's fine by me. Trading a lot of health on Torkoal for Toxic in the P2 is fine by me, because I can always Wish Pass and heal Bell my Torkoal later. So that's the beauty of that Clef set, and he has a really tough time putting on offensive pressure on my Clefable because Beedrill is going to take rocks, Metagross is going to take more rocks, putting it in range of my Garchomp. As I go for the Wish here, I didn't really see a need to over-predict anything as I go into my Garchomp here because I can live a Poison Jab at that point. I cannot live a U-turn as you saw with the damage before with the Adamant Beedrill. So I go into my Garchomp anticipating me to take a hit from Poison Jab and then kill it back with an Earthquake. But he goes right into his Crocodile, which is fine by me because I can switch back into my Clefable, not wanting to take ship on my Garchomp. And Norton Live Update, I don't care. As he goes into his P2, which is fine by me because every single time I go for the Protect there because I thought I'd lefties, but I forgot it got knocked off. So yeah. But that's fine by me that he goes into P2 because it's taking more Rock Chip, more Toxic. As he goes right into his Metagross, as I go for the Wish here, again, nothing to over-predict. I go safely into my Garchomp because it can eat anything from this thing except Ice Punch, but it's actually a roll to kill me at full. So I was willing to take that risk as he goes for the Ice Punch and does unfortunately get the roll. I believe it was in my favor for me to live, and I can kill it back with an Earthquake. But you know what, it's fine. I didn't really need Garchomp for anything anymore. It was a good knockoff switching, but I have my Clef and my Buzzle, so I didn't really need it for anything that much. P2 is Toxic. That one needs to break the P2. I have a lot of things that can check the Metagross, like my Buzzle here. And at this point, I figured out that if he has Agility, which is a very interesting set, Agility, he needed Earthquake, Meteor Mash, Ice Punch. I felt like that was a coverage, but I didn't want him to have Zen Headbutt and put my Buzzle in range of like an Aerial Ace from Beedrill or like a Poison Jab from Beedrill, anything like that. So I decided to switch out into Torkoal to see what he wants to go for, as he just goes for the Ice Punch. Now, that was a pretty bad misplay on my end because even if he did have Zen Headbutt, he revealed to not have like a Life Orb or boosting item at all. So I could easily bulk up in front of this Buzzle and win 5-0. So that was definitely a misplay on my end. He could have just bulk upped and 1v1'd the rest of his team because P2 I outspeed and I can kill it with a Drain Punch. Since it is Toxic and low, I pretty much want to go on his entire team, but I decided to play it safe for no reason. But it's fine by me because at this point my Buzzwole wins. So that's honestly fine by me. As I go into my Victory Belt, just to get some damage off on this thing, I don't care if he goes for Zen Headbutt or Ice Punch and kills me. I just need a chip on this Metagross, put it in range of a Buzzwole guaranteed. As I do get a crit, which it was a roll in my favor to kill. It was definitely a roll, I believe. But I go into my Clefable trying to anticipate the recovery because he needed this P2 healthy to at least try to win the game. So that's fine by me. I can wish back my Clefable to a very high amount of health so I can switch into Crocodile in case my Buzzwole is like screwed or something. But I just need an opening to get Buzzwole in on something, and then I can win the game with bulk up Buzzwole. So I'm in a really good position to win this game, and I go hard into my Houndoom, and he just goes into his B-Drill, and I go into my Victory Belt trying to sack it, because it doesn't outspeed anything anymore now that it's out of Sun, so I decided to sack it to the B-Drill, and now I just go into my Buzzwole, which you can take every hit ever, as he goes for the U-turn, which is a very interesting play, but it didn't really matter at this point, because I can just Drain Punch this thing and two-shot it, and Toxic really helps, the Rocks really help, so I just Drain Punch a couple times more, and then I just win the game with my Buzzwole, so I didn't even get a chance to bulk up. I could have definitely won earlier by bulking up on the Metagross, because then a Headbutt doesn't really do that much to my Buzzwole, because I'm going to get a defense boost with bulk up, I'm going to get a defense boost when I get the Beast boost as well. So I could have won a lot earlier in the game, but you know what, I chose my safest option in case I got crit or something, which I guess is fair on my end, but I definitely didn't play the best there, but I felt like I played pretty well enough to the point where I could secure the win without any like hacks or problems. So I was pretty happy with the way I played, and GG to Hayden, very good season so far in his debut of the NCL. Very good battle, man, and hope to see you again next season in the NCL. And we are going up against Jed and the Adelaide Overheat, which thoroughly outplayed Jay in the UNC Wingles, but no, he kind of hacks him into the semis, so definitely a good bud of mine. Looking forward to battling him, of course. So yeah, look out for that, and he has a pretty powerful team, and I'm going to go really in depth into that battle when we get to it next week. So really excited for that, going to semis. Again, the goal is to go all the way, win the championship, of course. So yeah, man, be stoked for that. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me, and like always, have a swell day. Peace.